Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Why Segmenting Improves Donor Management. My name is Lisa May Simpson. I serve as the Director of Education here at Forefront. In case you're not familiar with us, we are the only statewide association in the U.S. that represents both grant makers and nonprofits, as well as their advisors and their allies. Our mission is to build a vibrant social impact sector for all the people of Illinois, and we do that by providing education, advocacy, and research, and by mobilizing our members around campaigns like I'll Give that advance the sector. Before we dive into today's content, just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. Everyone's phone lines are muted, and that's just to keep the background noise to a minimum, but we really do welcome your questions. So take a moment now, please, and find the chat box on your screen. Mine is on the lower left-hand corner, and we encourage you to type any questions that you have there that we will address either during or at the end of today's presentation. And finally, we are recording this webinar, and we will share a link with you to that recording afterwards in case you'd like to review the presentation at any time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bridget and Larissa, our friends at GiveGab, and let them take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Lisa, and everyone at Forefront and the All Give community team. My name is Bridget, and I'm on the customer success team at GiveGab, and I do come from a background of nonprofit fundraising for the arts, so I'm really excited to bring my experience both with just working in a nonprofit and working with Giving Days to help all of you be more successful at everything that you do and just have more fun with fundraising. And I'm also joined with another member of our customer success team, Larissa, who's really going to take the reins today and show you how donor segmentation can really help you build a more effective strategy at your organization.
Hi everyone, I'm Larissa. I'm a customer success rep at GiveGab. My background's in education actually, so I really like teaching nonprofits and having them, reach out to us and doing what we can do to help you find the resources you need and be really successful. Okay, so for our agenda today, we're going to start with what is donor segmenting, so what does that look like? Second, we're going to go into why do we segment donors, why is it important for our all of our fundraising strategies and efforts. Designing your segmentation strategy is going to be next, so we're going to help you implement that and figure out how to start segmenting. And then we'll just show some examples of segmentation and how that'll look like for different organizations. And then last, we'll show you how to leverage that within the GiveGab platform. So what is donor segmentation? One definition is it's about grouping beneficiaries and donors into discrete categories of similar needs or characteristics relevant to strategic actions of the organization. So it's about grouping them, say, with regards to giving levels, demographics, interests. There are a range of different ways to group your donors and supporters. It's also a method used by organizations to understand their donor base, allowing for a tailored communication and engagement strategy. So it's not just about grouping, but it's about understanding your groups and making it effective so you can make them happy. And then it's also a way to move from mass email communication and marketing strategies to sending the right message at the right time to a targeted subgroup. So it's not just about sending one blanket message to cover your bases, but making all of your supporters feel special and important and that they're making an impact. And it's really important, too, for effective segmentation to really know your numbers and do your research and define your goals with everyone in your organization so you can use those numbers and effectively segment all of your donors. So next, why do we segment? We don't want to communicate just for the sake of communication. We want to target specific opportunities to specific groups of individuals. So we want to personalize and make our donors feel like they're being heard and appreciated, which will benefit you long term. So you want to put in the work up front and then and segment so that way you can accomplish that. We also want to segment because it improves engagement, it increases support, it helps you determine engagement frequency too. So it's important to understand your retention rate and how engaged your supporters are. So past giving history will actually tell you a lot about a donor. So you can look at donations from year to year, donations to a specific program, or just a general activity that's going on within your organization.
Yeah, I think the more you really think about segmenting as a way to be more efficient in all of the things that you do, that's really the goal of segmenting. I think people get really daunted with the fact that you're putting all these people in different buckets. How do you keep track? How do you organize all of this information? But it's actually a way to keep you more organized and to help your donors feel like they know where they stand with your organization. So it really helps you kind of connect these dots and make it easier for you to make these informed decisions. And it actually really ties into your stewardship strategy. So if you attended the webinar a few months ago, specifically on donor stewardship and cultivating those relationships, this actually plays a huge role into that strategy and how it can really help you, not just send better messages, but build better relationships with all of those supporters at your organization. So you really want to think about, how important, is the long-term success of your organization. Segmenting donors allows you to develop, those more effective stewardship strategies that are going to benefit you and those being stewards. So, when creating segments, keep your stewardship strategy in mind. Does your organization have specific giving levels? Maybe you create buckets for donors who give in a specific amount or range, and this actually allows you to create different messages and opportunities for those who need those extra touches or more specific calls to action. So, for example, if your organization has specific incentivized benefits, for those that donate a specific amount, they're a major donor, they reach specific levels, that messaging is going to be very different than the messages or the benefits that come with being a smaller donor. So your messaging is going to be different based on those benefits and based on those levels of stewardship where that donor falls. And this is also an opportunity to grow relationships with your existing donors. So think about those donors who are really on the cusp of being a major donor. This is an opportunity for you to kind of target that group and help steward that relationship so maybe they up their gift to that greater amount. Sending an email saying, you're only a $100 gift away from having a plaque in our lobby next year. That's a really impactful message that has a clear call to action. That's a goal for both the donor and your organization, and it's going to motivate them to continue to give, to continue to support you, because there is kind of that benefit, and they do know that that message was sent specifically for them. It wasn't kind of a blanket message that everyone received, because not everyone is, $100 away from receiving a plaque. So think about how you can utilize those different buckets of supporters based on, your current donor stewardship strategy, maybe those giving levels you already have, or even just how you determine a small donor from a major donor. What is that number? Use that information so that you can have these opportunities to provide those specific supporters with that clear call to action that they need during that time. So it really does benefit your stewardship long term, not just during the conversation that you're having, but going forward. It does leave happier supporters because they feel like the message is more targeted to what they want to hear and what they want to do. So this is actually an example of some segment incentivizing. I know a lot of organizations have different giving levels. This is an example from Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago. I'm a big fan of Steppenwolf, and I actually am also a big fan of how they steward their donors. And you can see here for their annual fund, they have different levels of giving for each specific contribution level. So it's based on, how much a specific donor gives over time. And as you can see here, a person who's at the producer level who gives $1,000 or more is likely going to receive different messaging or have different opportunities than someone who only gives, the $75 level. Those are very specific types of donors with very specific relationships to your organization. And now I know a lot of organizations kind of struggle with, well, how do I actually provide benefits or incentivize people to give in my organization? We don't really have the capacity for a lot of these things, but there are a lot of different ideas you can play with to maybe develop strategies that will incentivize people to grow within your organization and move forward in those buckets. So whether it's an invitation to an upcoming event, or I love having an exclusive, maybe a first access list. So you have a specific group of people where they get every email before everyone else. And that's something that doesn't cost you anything, but does kind of motivate people to be in that specific club of, you heard it first supporters. They get that information a few days, whether it's, announcing your season or tickets to a specific fundraising event. Giving them that little heads up beforehand is going to make them feel really appreciated, really acknowledged for their continued support of your cause, and it's going to just help you long term, develop those stronger relationships. You can also send out some kind of swag items, whether it's a mug or stickers, pens, something with your organization's name on it is something to kind of offer up to people, or maybe a personal meeting for someone that, gives a great amount, whether it's, a meeting with, your executive director, your artistic director, maybe someone that you've served, one of your clients, your constituents, someone in your community that donor actually has an effect on. That's an opportunity to kind of incentivize and use these segments to grow your relationships. As well as public recognition is always an opportunity for you to thank those donors in a way that really recognizes them in a public way. So just kind of think about how you can utilize segmenting, not just to organize those donors and send more focused messages, but to actually help steward those relationships and make it easier for you so that next touch, they've already received that opportunity to attend the event, or to have that special that meeting or something like that is really going to connect with the donor and make them feel like they're heard and they're acknowledged going forward.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to shift gears just a little bit. It's important to kind of look at it from the supporter's perspective. So what happens when you don't segment, and how is that interpreted by your supporters? So just some research we did showed that response and click-through rates in some nonprofit email campaigns declined by 16% and 18.7% from 2012. The report concluded that basically declining response rates show a saturated channel with non-differentiated messaging and campaigns. So basically, blanket messages decreased response rates and click-through rates, so nobody was really interested in learning more at that point. So one way to look at it is that when you send blanket messages, it kind of becomes more about you and what's convenient for your organization rather than really being about the supporter. So there's a time and place for mass communication, but it's not all the time. You really want to speak to certain groups effectively. I know personally I've received mass communication emails, and I think, oh, that email wasn't really meant for me. I didn't give that much, so I'm just going to ignore it and I'm not going to click through. I do that all the time.
Yeah, and the more, if you are only sending those blanket communications to all of your supporters, every few weeks, people will eventually start to ignore them. They won't really acknowledge that that's something they should care about. So the more specific you can make it in the capacity that you have to kind of at least try it. It doesn't have to be, every communication you send has to be segmented. But think about what you actually hope to achieve. If you have a specific goal in mind, think about how you can kind of position specific messages to certain people who are more likely to help you achieve that goal based on a specific type of communication or call to action that you would send. So again, a small donor isn't really going to react the same way or have the same, you aren't going to ask them to do the same thing that you'd ask, a $5,000 donor to do at your organization. So just think about what communications will really benefit your strategy and use segmenting in that way. Don't steer away from mass communications in general, but keep that in mind in all the communications that you're creating.
Definitely. And it might seem like a lot of work up front to segment, and it does take time to do your research, but you're going to be doing more work down the road trying to keep everyone engaged when you get to that point. And really happy and motivated supporters do the work for you. So you kind of want to work on segmenting and targeting your communication. Happy supporters are infectious. People see the experience they have, so those people will work for you.
Absolutely.
So just to touch on designing your segmentation strategy, it's really informed by your research. So segmenting your donors only really helps when you have a strategy in place and attainable goals in mind. So based on what you know and what you hope to achieve at your organization, you and your team can develop the best way to break up your information to make it personalized and more effective. Developing a clear plan of action and steps for how and when your donors will be communicated with is really important. For identifying your donors, this is where having a really detailed donor database can help you, because you never have too much information about your donors. You don't have to use all of it at once, but you never know when a piece of information will come in handy when putting together some sort of appeal or stewarding that donor down the line.
Hold on one second, folks. We're having a few technical difficulties. One moment, please.
This is Lisa. While we're waiting for Bridget and Larissa to get back on the line, we had a question from Megan if there's a way to send the stewardship webinar that was mentioned. That is something, if you all are a member of Forefront, you can visit our website, which is myforefront.org, and click on your membership benefits. You'll see a library of our recorded webinars there. And you can find a recording of that webinar along with all of the other I'll Give and digital fundraising webinars. If you are not currently a member, then I would encourage you to send me an email and we can talk to you about how to join up. So let's see, Bridget, I just advanced the slide, so if you want to let me know when you're ready to advance, I can go ahead and drive for you from here on out.
Great, thanks. Sorry about that, Lisa. We lost control of the car for a second. So sorry about that, everyone. Jumping back into what Larissa was saying. Go ahead, Larissa. Sorry about that.
No worries. So I think we just finished with identifying your donors. And then clearly defining segments is important. You want to make them measurable, but measurable doesn't necessarily mean anything arbitrary. It's something you want to be able to look back on and reevaluate again as needed, so you can see the retention progress and the development of your supporters over time. If a segment you created isn't helping you reach your goals or isn't providing the level of engagement you hoped, try something new. If you can keep track of conversion rates to see which communications and outreaches are the most effective, then reevaluate every few months.
You could advance the next slide, Lisa.
Okay. So you also want to prioritize your segments really based on the needs and the mission of your organization. So you want to think about what method of communication, what program, events, or causes are they interested in. And another thing is, how often will you communicate with a particular segment? Do they need to be re-engaged? It might take between 8 and 12 touches to get engagement back from individuals. So just because it might not work the first time doesn't mean it's not going to work. So just keep trying and testing it out. And then you want to think about, what is the preferred giving channel? Which events or opportunities do you invite them to? What supporters have a vested interest in your organization? What really sparks their interest? And then, could this group fill a need within the operations of your organization? So just finding new ways for them to get involved and utilizing their strengths to do that.
All right, so here's kind of an example of how communication, segmentation, and action can actually work for you. So here's just kind of a really basic example of, an SPCA email for inviting people to attend a fundraising event that they have over the summer. You obviously want to invite all of your supporters to this event, but maybe you don't want to send just one blanket invitation to everyone, because this is an opportunity to steward with maybe your larger donors. Maybe there's some kind of benefit involved. So little things in your messaging, again, you don't have to put a whole lot of work in creating really unique emails for each individual supporter. It is really all about finding those buckets that people fall into so that you can serve them up the opportunity that's right for them. So, on the left, you're seeing something where it's kind of that general blanket invitation, tickets are $20, we hope you attend RSVP today. Where on the right, it's much more focused for specifically a donor that's given at a specific level, where they actually don't have to pay anything for those tickets. It's an opportunity whereas the goal on the email on the left is just to get supporters to sign up, to engage, to attend the event, and raise money. The goal on the email of the right is actually to engage with that donor and have an opportunity for them to come, to delight them with 2 free tickets to this event that you hold, to have an opportunity to have a conversation with them at that event, to talk about your plans for a capital campaign coming up, where their goals align with yours, and future fundraising opportunities. So these emails, again, they look the same. They kind of have a similar idea. They both want you to attend an event, but the true goals behind each of these emails is different, and that's where segmenting can really help you move these strategies forward so you are being more effective and people are responding to those specific calls to action, because, like Larissa said, when you send out those blanket communications, it feels more like it's about your organization, it's about, you getting what you want, where when you send a more specific email like this, it's really about providing the donor with what they want, with what they feel like is the proper acknowledgement for what they have or how much they've already engaged with you. And you're probably thinking, how do I actually do this with the information I have? I know people have varying types of donors databases, and their information is, stored in lots of different ways, from Excel spreadsheets to CRMs. So I do just want to point out how you can actually, see, this is an example from the Give Gab CRM, and how you can pull the information that you currently have about your donors to really send these customized emails in a way that's actually a lot easier than you think. And to do that, I'm actually going to pass it over to our nonprofit engagement specialist, Kyle, who's going to talk about how you can use our CRM features to really develop segmenting strategies that are going to work for your organization.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I'm the Nonprofit Engagement Specialist. This slide that we are looking at now is an example of a contact card for one of our contacts within the Engage CRM. That first arrow that you see, the upper one on the left-hand side pointing to custom properties, is going to be where you can set up whatever properties are important for you as an organization to know about your donors. Right now, we have the question about how Bridget prefers to be contacted, but you can add as many properties or attributes as you'd like into this section. So maybe it's important for you to know the acquisition channel. Maybe this person came in as a volunteer and then became a donor. Maybe you met them at an event. Whatever information is important to you, you can add that as a custom property and then report it to all of your contacts. Second arrow down on the left-hand side is tags. These are buckets that you would want people to belong to. So for Bridget, we have that she's a 2016 volunteer. She's adopted a pet from us. These, again, are custom to your organization, so you can set up as many as you'd like for whatever criteria is necessary for you. And then when you're doing searches, you can pull as many different custom properties or tags that you would like to create a different segment. So maybe I want to pull a segment for people who only want to be contacted by email, who have also adopted a pet. Bridget, among others, would be the ones who show up for me. The next arrow down, pointing towards the notes section, is a custom section where you can leave whatever kind of notes that you would like to about a contact. This is important to note stewardship activities. Maybe I've met Bridget for a coffee and I want to have a record of that. These are just up to you to leave whatever kinds of contact that you've had with your donor up there. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, we see a listing of Bridget's complete history with us as an organization, as a donor, as a volunteer, and as a fundraiser for us. And this will automatically record anything that happens within GiveGab, but you can also add things that happen outside of GiveGab, whether through another online platform or in person. So we can help by helping you manage and organize the supporter information for maximum results. Data is really helpful in being more strategic in how you do outreach to your donors. And so using the platform, you're able to pull those people that fit into the buckets or attributes that are necessary. Full features with our Engage CRM plan will include unlimited campaign and event fundraising year-round with GiveGab, unlimited constituent records and administrators, so you can have as many donors and supporters as you want and as many internal administrators as you want, all for the same fees. An embeddable donation form for your website that includes a customized button that goes on your site. So anytime someone gives to you, all of that data is just immediately input into GiveGab. An hour-long onboarding training session with me. Average cost of fees, including your credit card processing fees, is about $1.40 per every $100 raised. And the CRM with the tagging, custom properties, and segmenting tools, and downloadable CSVs of any selected contacts that you would like to pull information from.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kyle. Those are just a few of the things that you can do on GiveGab with those CRM features, and that really is so that you can pull those reports to develop those effective segments that are going to help you create these messages, because when you have those specific little tags and you maybe have a meeting at the beginning there, okay, what is important for us to know about our donors? Think about what you want to tag. Think about what notes are important to leave, what those custom properties are that you want to ask, how a donor likes to be communicated with. That's something that you should really know about your donors, and will help you have better communications going forward. So those are just some of the ways that you can do that, and you can do that, in a variety of tools that you probably already use now. But the key is to just knowing what those segments are and how they can develop into your strategies. Yep. So with that, those key takeaways from today's presentation.
Awesome. So just to kind of summarize everything we talked about, personalization is the key to gaining long-term donor support. So making your donors feel special and speaking to all of your donors effectively. It helps build relationships that are mutually beneficial. You know, you're not just benefiting from their donations, but they're feeling involved and feeling like they're making an impact. So they're getting that benefit as well. It results in more effective communications and engagement. And then you can have a clearly defined segmentation strategy, which will expedite stewardship later on. So it'll make your stewardship efforts much easier down the road. And then leveraging technology to track and manage segmentation for you. So many resources out there. You want to do your research and take the time to understand your donors, and we can help you do that. So mark your calendars. On Monday, May 8th will be the next webinar, 10 Final Steps to Success for I'll Give Community. It's for nonprofit leaders and development staff. We're just going to review some last-minute strategies so you can focus on and have a really successful I'll Give community. And then there will be a webinar again on May 25th, just talking about segmenting your data and strategizing an effective donor engagement plan. So taking what we learned today and what we learned in the previous webinar about stewardship and kind of helping you implement that.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for sticking with us today. If you have any questions, I think we have a few minutes. If not, feel free to head to GiveGab. You'll always see a little blue chat bubble on the bottom right-hand corner of your page on I'll Give Community and on GiveGab, and that's your direct line to our team, who is always happy to answer any questions that you have. And if you are interested in learning more about Give Gab CRM, you can also use that chat bubble. Just ask for Kyle. Say you're interested in learning about the CRM, and we're happy to get you in touch so that we can make sure that you're as successful as possible in segmenting your donors and beyond. But with that, I think that's it for GiveGab.
Thank you so much, Bridget and Kyle and Larissa. Always happy to partner with you, and thanks for all the good information. I'm going to leave this resource page up for just a few minutes, and we'll see if any questions pop up. But in the meantime, we'll look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.